Hi, I'm Tasha Marie, the creator and owner of Seep. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. And don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Today I'm going to be showing you all how I build and made my custom loaf soap molds and how I calculate the volume of batter that I need to make to go inside of it. So one of the biggest reasons why I go ahead and make my loaf molds is, as a small business owner, you know, when you start up or even when you're running your business for a while, you try to mitigate costs. And this is one way for me to do it. So I buy a 2x4 piece of plywood and I cut them down into the dimensions that I want them. Normally, I can yield 4 long, skinny soap molds with 4 smaller ones. And for the smaller ones, this is what I use for like my test batches when I'm using a new fragrance or anything like that, or new colors, just so I can know what it's gonna look like. But $27 versus buying one offline for maybe $75 or more. This helps a lot. So I do line my molds, and I will show you all that in another video when I'm actually making the soap. I line my soap molds with parchment paper, and I like using this type of parchment paper with the Smart Grid only because I know exactly how much I need for each mold, and it's easier to cut through, as well as this parchment paper you can use up to 3 times. After my soap has cured, I go ahead and take it out of the parchment paper, wipe it down, and put it back in my mold. So stay tuned. Here's a few clips of me cutting and putting the molds together. So now we have our loaf soap mold we're gonna go ahead and measure how much batter we need inside. So the first thing we do is you can take a tape measure, a ruler, or whatever you have to measure the inside of the mold. The mold is 17 inches long, 2.5 inches wide, and 3.5 inches deep. Now that we have the measurements for the inside, what I normally do is convert it from inches to centimeters, and it's gonna make sense in a minute. So now that we have our inside dimensions in inches, we're going to convert it into centimeters, and it's gonna make sense as we go along. So we have 17 inches long, 3.5 inches deep, and 2.5 inches wide, which would turn out to be 43.18 centimeters long, 8.89 centimeters deep, and 6.35 centimeters wide. And we're gonna take those three numbers and multiply them together. This is going to give you the total capacity of this loaf mold, of how much it can hold on the inside. And that number ends up being 2,437. Okay, so this is where the reason we converted inches into centimeters. That 2,437 is going to be millimeters, and 1 millimeter equals 1 gram. So 2,437 grams will fit in this loaf mold. So when we put it in the SoCal, it'll make a whole bunch more sense. We're gonna take that 2,437 and we are going to divide it by 0.9. I actually watched another YouTuber. I'm gonna link their video down below. This actually helps get the perfect amount for your custom mold at the end. So we're gonna take that 2,437 divided by 0.9, which will give us 2,708. So it does add a little bit more. I know this is a lot of math, but we only have about one more step left. After taking that 2,708, we are going to divide it by the percentage of water. You have to understand the lye and water percentage. So if you want a harder bar, you can use low water, which would be 50-50, 50% lye, 50% water. If you want a medium bar, that would take the normal 4 to 8 weeks curing time. You can do 33% lye and 67% water. Or if you want pretty much a soft bar that has high water, which is a little easier to work with because it will stay fluid longer, you can use 75% water and 25% lye. But just know if you use that much water, it's going to take a long time for your bar of soap to cure because the water does have to evaporate out of it. My lye to water ratio is 35-65. So we're going to take that 2,708 and we're going to multiply it by 0.65, which is my water percentage. Then we're going to end up with 1,760. Now that number is going to be the total weight of oils in my soap. And when we go to SoCal here, that is what I'm going to put in SoCal along with the rest of my ingredients. At the end, we're going to look at the total amount that the soap calc comes up with, and we're going to bounce that off of our original number to see how close we are. It's okay if it's a little bit over and it's okay if it's a little bit under. You can always adjust for your preference, but I like mine to be perfect, so where I can do a textured top or even a slight little high top. Here we are at SoCal. This is where we're gonna get our full recipe. We're gonna go to the top where it says recipe calculator and click on it. First things first is to make sure that we have NaOH clicked for sodium hydroxide. Then because I'm doing everything in grams, I'm going to click on grams and enter 1760. This is the weight of the oil that we calculated earlier on in this video. Next, I'm going to go over to lye concentration. This is going to be the percentage of lye that I'm going to be putting in, which is 35%. Then I'm going to go over to super fat and fragrance. So I always have my super fat at 7 because it leaves a small amount of the oil inside of the soap that does not get solidified, which makes the soap less dry. And then I always put my fragrance at 0 because I calculated at the end of the total batch amount. Now we're going to go ahead and select our ingredients. So there is a scroll down bar where it says oils, fats, and waxes. That's where you will find majority of the ingredients that you'll use. And then once you click on it, you'll click on add. I do that for all of my ingredients. After everything is added to my recipe oil list, I then put in the percentages of said oils. For this particular recipe, mini soapers, just like myself, we do have multiple recipes depending on what type of soap we're making. Once you have everything in, you're going to come down here to the bottom where it says calculate recipe and click on it. And it's going to give you the 100% percentage. Make sure everything looks good. And then you're going to press view or print recipe. When you press this button, it will give you an actual recipe sheet which breaks down everything. And as you can see, my total batch is going to be 2,485. And when I calculated the volume of soap that can go into my long mode, it was 2,437. So we're going to have a nice, even batch of soap with no extra left over. Down here at the bottom where it says soap bar quality, I always make sure that I have a good hardness, a good cleansing, conditioning, bubbly, and creamy soap. Again, you can change the recipe to your liking.